Plan Commission meeting of Monday, July 18th, 2022. Please rise, start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roger, are you taking roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Franz?
Present.
Ms. Grabanowski?
Must be on Zoom.
She should be on Zoom. I will come back to her. Mr. Jones?
Present.
Ms. Walker?
Present.
Mr. Lake?
Present.
Mr. Hurst?
Present.
Ms. Madrick is out. And let's come back.
Well, we have 5, so we do have a quorum. I know that Mary was going to dial in. Maybe she's on, but needs to be promoted. Okay, she is. All right. I'll ask members who are speaking tonight, or the audience who are speaking tonight, please stay at the microphone while you're talking. They're having problems with the recording and transcribing of it. So if you come up to talk, please stay by the microphone while you speak. Thank you. All right, well, let us know when she joins. All right, in your packet, you have two sets of minutes, one from the June 21st regular meeting and June 22nd special meeting. Is there any comments, additions, deletions to those minutes?
Yes, I do, Mr. Franz. On page 14 of the June 21st minutes, my vote was recorded as a nay. The vote count reflected in the minutes is accurate, but my vote was in the affirmative.
Okay. Roger, you got that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay?
I'm going to abstain because I was not present.
Okay, thank you. Still, it's 4 votes, so that passes. We have 2 continuance requests on the docket, 2022-22 DP, Altum Garden Center at 795 US or South US 421, Zionsville. Petition for a development plan approval of a garden center to be located on a portion of the 7-acre site in the rural I-2 industrial zoning district and within the rural MRO Michigan Road overlay zoning districts. Roger, do you know if the petitioner is going to be present, or were you going to handle this?
I'm going to handle that. Petitioner has submitted a letter requesting continuance. The issue is that there are just some remaining items that both petitioner and staff feel need to be ironed out before the project is prepared and ready to present to the Plan Commission for consideration.
All right. Is there any questions, comments? If not, is there a motion to move this to the August 15th meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay? The motion is continued to next month. Docket number 2022-29 DPA, Harris FLP B Shops at Appaloosa Crossing, 3091 South US 421, Zionsville. Petition for a development plan amendment to provide an outdoor seating area to be located on the southern end of the B Shops building area previously approved as a drive-through window and aisle. The involved property is zoned rural general business GB and is within the rural Michigan Road overlay. Roger, were you going to handle that? Or is the petitioner going to handle that?
There may be a representative online, Kyle Resiteritz. Do we have him available online? If not, I'll be able to cover this request. Kyle Resiteritz.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Thanks for your time. Yes, as Roger said, Kyle Resiteritz with the law firm of Dentons Bingham Greenbaum in Indianapolis, here on behalf of the petitioner, standing in for Matt Price as well. As noted, the request is for a continuance to the August 15th meeting. The staff has provided several comments with respect to the request. The petitioner is reviewing those items in an effort to resolve the outstanding comments, to better address specifically how the outdoor seating will be located at the proposed site and be replacing the previously proposed drive-through window and aisle. I believe there are some more specifics that staff provided, but greatly appreciate your allowance of a continuance on this matter until next month.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any questions, comments? If not, is there a motion to continue this matter to the August 15th meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Continue next month. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Can you confirm that Mary's online? Okay, so Mary, can you acknowledge and say, so we can hear you? You're on mute.
I'm trying. Yes, I'm here.
All right, thank you. So let's go ahead and start the petitions that are in front of us tonight. Docket number 2022-18 MP, Madeline Squires minor plat, 1567 North 1000 East Sheridan, petition for a minor plat of 159-acre parcel into 3 residential lots in the rural AG agricultural district.
Given
you,
that this
Mr.
was
President.
noticed by first class mail, do we need to make a motion to approve first class mail?
Yeah, we would. Is there a motion to approve as first class mail as proper notification?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, Mike Andrioli, 1393 West Oak Street. I'm representing Dr. Squires in this request for a minor plat. I took her through the process back in 2016. We never recorded the plat. She had some changes in some of the estate concerns that she was having at that time. And basically just essentially took her time and got to the point where she decided to go ahead and put a 3-lot minor plat together. There's 2 lots that already occupy houses where she lives in the back, and then there's an old farmhouse along County Road 1100. This property is right across the street from the new promontory property that was approved for the Hinkie Development Company, directly across the street on the east side of County Road 1100, where her property is. There's a house close to the road, a very old home. Her son lives there. Dr. Squire lives in the very back house. And then that is going to be sold or transferred probably to a family member. And she's going to build another house on the 100 plus acres that are remaining. Essentially what we've done, instead of taking the 2 lots, we've combined all of her property. This minor plat will take care of all of the Dr. Squire's property that she has in that area combined into the plat. It's very unusual to have 1 lot so large, but that's how she wanted it in terms of how she's taking care of her estate for future planning needs. So there's no waivers requested. We've got access appropriate. As I said, there's already 2 houses we've done back in 2016, did all the soil borings and testing, all of that for septics, if and when she's ready to go through the process for building a cabin by the lake there. It was ultimately her plans. She'll have to go back through the health department. Everything's may have modernized since then, so she'll be required to go through that particular process. But as far as the plat's concerned, be happy to answer any questions. I think it's pretty straightforward.
All right, thank you. At this point, is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this matter? There's none. Roger? Or
Mr. Andrioli did a good job summarizing. This petition came as a plat to you previously a few years ago. It also had gone through BZA approvals for special exceptions, the lot frontage reduction, and then for a 3-to-1. They're simply just adding an additional lot to the existing lot to this plat. There were minimal comments that still need to be addressed from the engineer, and I think Boone County Highway that are included in the report. With all that said, staff is in favor of the petition and happy to answer any questions.
all right, thank you. At this point in time, I'll open up to any members of the Plan Commission. There's on the fire department letter, there's a statement, says there's no common drive to access the second and third drive lots, which would have direct access to 1000 East, does not appear to meet the threshold of requirements associated with a common access drive at this time.
Yes. I'm not sure what their threshold is, but I just threw that letter in there just to have it on
Okay.
file.
Is it, I mean, are you guys, either of you have any concern with that?
As a comment, it will still need to be addressed as one of the follow-up comments, similar to comments within the engineering letter.
Okay. Yep. Yes.
The entrance to the very back property, all of that was approved back in 2016. There's going to be a common entrance that'll serve the lot in the very back, as well as Dr. Squire's large middle lot. The other home site, of course, has access right off of County Road 1100. There's a common maintenance agreement that was prepared a long time ago that will be prepared so that long lot drive that will go back to the Dr. Squire's current house will be maintained as per the agreement. So all of that's already in effect. And essentially what we've done is just change these lot lines around a little bit and add a much larger lot in the center, encompass all of her property.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
I have a question because I drove around it the other day and the entrance off of Promontory or across from that is on 1000 East, not 1100 East. And driving down 1100 East, there are lots of properties along 1100 East. And
You're right, Mary. It's I said 1100. That was my misstatement. It's County Road 1000 right across.
Well, it's 1100 in here too, so in writing.
Yes.
So I wanted to clarify
You're
that.
correct.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Anything else? Would someone like to make a motion on this matter?
I move that docket number 2022-18-MP, approval of a minor plat for a 3-lot residential subdivision located at approximately 1567 North 1100 East, Zionsville, Indiana 46077, be approved based on the findings in the staff report, staff recommendation, submitted findings of fact as presented, and subject to the resolution to engineering, ZFD, and Boone County Highway comments in Exhibit 6.
Is there a second?
Can I clarify real quick? Is that address correct? Or is it 1,000?
It's 1,000.
That is the correct address that we
Okay.
noticed for the property, but there's obviously going to be other addresses assigned.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify before I seconded.
Yes,
So
it
it's
is.
1,000. It's just noted incorrectly in the staff report.
So I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? Guess we'll continue with the roll call vote as we've done on matters like this. So Roger, if you would.
Very good. Mr. Hurst,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Franz,
Aye.
Ms. Grabanowski,
Aye.
Mr. Lake,
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye. All right, motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Hold on, we'll be right back. Docket number 2022-27 DP, R Hopwood and Hopwood Cellars Winery, 2055 South US 421 Zionsville, Highway 421 Zionsville. Petition for development plan approval of vineyard and distillery on 16.1 acres in the rural general agricultural AG districts.
Mr. Franz, I need to recuse myself from this issue.
All right, thank you. Please
Thank you,
proceed.
Mr. President. Mike Andrioli, 1393 West Oak Street. I'm here with Ron Hopwood of Hopwood Winery and his family, as well as Eric Carter, a Y engineer, and we have our traffic engineer, to the extent there's any questions there online, I believe, with us tonight. As you'll recall, we presented in fair amount of detail at the last meeting. It was tabled for us to address a number of staff comments that they had raised, and staff had concern that our request for maybe approval subject to had too many items really to address. And in hindsight, when we looked at it, there was a lot of heavy lifting that still remained in order to provide staff with the information that they needed. And most of that came from Mr. Carter. We've done intensive landscape screens and landscape plans that have been submitted to staff. We shored up some of the drainage concerns and met those drainage concerns that we had. As late as Friday, I know Mr. Carter had a follow-up discussion with the Boone County Highway Department regarding the extent of the right-of-way along County Road 200, and submitted a letter to staff with regard to the commitments that Mr. Hopwood has made with regard to that. So we think in terms of the overall land plan, we've now got it to the point where there may be a couple of small punch list items. I don't know if we've gotten approval from the state highway, but that generally takes a bit. But we've had intensive discussions with them, so we know what they want. They know what we're proposing. It's just a matter of getting through some of the bureaucracy. And of course, that would have to be submitted to staff before we can start pulling building permits or doing any work out there. But so that may be one small little remaining item. But at this point, be happy to answer any of your questions. As I said, Mr. Carter is here to answer any of the engineering questions. We think we now have it to the point where staff has recommended to you an approval subject to just a couple of punch list items in number 5 and 6, which we think are not going to be any problems or not in dispute. We just have to get those things done so that they're satisfied with that. So I think at this point, subject to those items that staff has indicated, we'd encourage your vote tonight. And we thank you for listening to us last month and your consideration then as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. At this point in time, is there anybody from the public who'd like to comment on this matter? Being none, Roger, Suzanne, Shannon, Roger.
Presenting. Thank you. As Mr. Andrew stated, we're glad to report there's been quite a bit of work done since the last meeting. Specifically, one of the main concerns of discussion at the last meeting involved drainage of the site. And the petitioner, along with the town's engineers, met face-to-face on June 28th and made significant progress on those areas. Additionally, there's been revisions to and improvements to the landscaping plan and other aspects of the project to the point where staff is in support of the project and does recommend, we'll phrase it as a conditional approval subject to petitioner still addressing all the items in the remaining comment letter from both engineering staff, but there's also a letter from Boone County Highway. We just want to make sure that everything is covered. The staff is in support of this request.
All right, thank you. At this point in time, is there any questions, comments from any members of the planning commission? Guess not. I would like to thank you for working with us and putting this in a much better shape for us to approve. So we thank you for your cooperation with the town on that.
Well, you're welcome, and thanks for the consideration, at least with some consideration of even giving us approval subject to last time, and we certainly appreciate that. In the end, I think the process has now been well served because staff feels a lot more comfortable about where this project is and the information that they needed to make an intelligent recommendation to the planning commission. So,
All right. If there's nothing else, is there a motion on this matter?
I move that docket number 2022-27-DP development plan approval for a vineyard and distillery operations on 16.1 plus or minus acres in the rural general agricultural zoning district be approved as presented with conditions as noted in the staff report and based upon the findings of fact subject to resolution of engineer and Boone County Highway comments, exhibits 5 and 6.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roger, would you please take roll?
Sir, Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Franz,
Aye.
Ms. Grabanowski,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Hurst.
aye.
All right, motion carries 5-0. I'm sure it'll be a great addition to Zionsville. Thank you very much. On the new business, dockets number 2022-32 RP, Chase Bank, Appaloosa Crossing, Outlook A replat, and 2022-33 DP, Chase Bank at Appaloosa Crossing Development Plan. 10701 East, 300 South Zionsville. Petition for replatting of Outlot A in Appaloosa Crossing to divide the 2.14 acre lot into two outlots being in the rural general business GB district and within the Michigan Road overlay. And petition for development plan approval of a 3,419 square foot bank building with associated parking and landscaping being in the rural general business GB district and within the Michigan Road overlay. A waiver of architectural design is requested. Please proceed. State your name.
Yes, hello, members of Plan Commission. My name is Liam Sawyer from Kimley Horn and Associates, located at 250 East 96th Street, Suite 580 in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm here tonight representing Chase Bank and in particular Chase Bank Appaloosa Crossing. I believe on a Zoom call, I also have Teron Wright, who is the architect, and also one of my colleagues at Kimley Horn, Chad Mays, who has helped with the engineering. And as you said, we're presenting on the replat petition and then the development plan petition. So just a quick overlay of where the project is for reference. So we're at what I would call the most immediate hard corner of County Road 300 South and then Michigan Road. So just to the north of these shops at Lafayette Appaloosa Crossing and kind of taking the western half of what was Lot A at Appaloosa Crossing. Just a quick run over of what we're planning for the development summary. I should say the overall Lot A that we're replatting is that 2.14 acres, but the Chase Bank will be 1.13 acres. It is in the rural general business zone with the Michigan Road overlay. The bank building square footage is a proposed 3,419 square feet. We have a total of 34 parking spaces. That includes 2 required ADA spaces. And just a reminder, as it was said in the staff report, we did receive a landscaping variance at the June BZA hearing for some perimeter landscaping along our parking on Michigan Road or the Michigan Road overlay zone. This next slide is just a brief overview of the site plan for your reference. As you can tell, the north entrance or the main entrance is facing north towards East 300. And then we have parking on the north side, and then the west side. And then immediately to the south, there is a drive lane that goes up to a drive-up ATM. It is not a drive-through window, so there is no pass-through. It's just an ATM. And then a blow-by lane, and then also a separate lane for extra circulation, and then also some fire truck and trash movements or trash pickup movements. Next slide that I like to highlight is just the utilities. We've worked with staff, we've worked with Tri-County, who's the sanitary provider, and everyone else to get this to a place where all the utilities are approved. But in general, everything's coming through from the south. As you know, this is part of Appaloosa Crossing. It's a master plan development. We were pretty lucky. Everything was basically right there for us. So thanks to Greg Snelling and everyone else who's working on that project, but everything's going to the south and we've kind of just fit into the master plan as the next piece. Next, just briefly, I'll go over some of the architectural elevations, and if there's any specific questions about this, I'll let Tehran answer it. But in general, we're just continuing the theme that is at Appaloosa Crossing. If you look to the south, the shops at Lot B are going to look not exactly the same, but same materials, same finishes that we're proposing here. But here, you go to south elevation, you kind of see that drive-up ATM there. Then you have the east elevation, which is kind of the back of house, I would say. And then the north elevation, which is where the main entrance is. And then the west, which is facing Michigan Road. I will say here, as noted, we do have a waiver request as being part of the along Michigan Road 421. It does need to meet the Zionsville town theme per code. We are requesting a waiver from that town standard just so we match and are continuous with the rest of Appaloosa Crossing. We think it will be better for continuity of the overall development. Here, I'll kind of blow by this one, but we did include a quick signage plan because that was a requirement. And so this kind of goes over what Chase would like eventually to happen. We do recognize that we will need a full sign permit after, and that we'll work with staff there. So I'd just like to highlight kind of look at what's going on there because I know that's a big deal a lot of time. This is, again, the proposed but not approved monument sign that Chase would like there. So it matches the theme of Appaloosa Crossing overall and kind of the same materials. And then finally, I'll briefly talk about this. This is our replat. I just wanted to highlight it here. So this lot to the west, what we're calling Lot A, which is 1.13 acres. That is what we will be the Chase Bank. And then we're leaving a 1.01 acre lot, which meets the requirements of the commitments made during the overall approval of the original plat for Appaloosa Crossing. Finally, I'd just like to highlight the staff recommendations from the staff report. For the development plan, staff recommends approval of the requested architectural building design waiver. And then for the development plan, they recommend approval subject to the remaining engineering comments, which we are very willing and are working with staff through. Then there are also a landscape plan. I'm sure staff will have a comment on it. We, through a slight misunderstanding of code, we are significantly overplanted right now. So it's always better, I guess, from my side to be overplanted and then have staff to tell us to take away trees. So we are working with them to get that exactly where we need it within code. We're not going to go really below code, but we are, to say slightly, significantly overplanted. So we're working with staff to get that back to a more reasonable level of what is needed. And we're more than willing to meet that condition and have that approval. And then finally, for the replat, staff also recommends approval of that, subject to the resolutions of the engineering comments. And we are also willing to work and continue to work with staff to meet those comments. That's all I have. If you have any questions, please let me know or Tehran on the phone. Thank you.
All right, thank you. At this point, is there anybody in the public who'd like to comment on this matter? Being none, Roger, Suzanne, Roger.
Thank you. As Mr. Sawyer noted, we're covering two petitions at the same time here. First is 2022-32-RP. It's a replat of Outlot A of Appaloosa Crossing, and then a companion petition, docket number 2022-33-DP, the development plan for the Chase Bank to be located on the extreme, the new lot, which would be furthest west of Outlot A. Speaking specifically of the replat, when Appaloosa Crossing was originally platted, this area consisted of a single lot of what is now 2.14 acres, and that is just more acreage than what Chase is needing. And so they're going through this replatting process. It will create an additional outlot for Appaloosa Crossing. That additional outlot still complies with the commitments that were entered into when Appaloosa Crossing as a whole was rezoned. So we're still in compliance with those commitments. As for acreage and setbacks and everything, it will be in compliance. Both lots will be in compliance. As a part of this replat, they are also introducing a north-south accessory drive extending southward from County Road 300 South or 146th Street. And that would provide access then to this new lot, outlot, we'll call it A1, where Chase would be located, and also access to outlot A2, which would be the new lot on the eastern half of the original outlot. Hopefully that's not too confusing. Hopefully you follow along with the picture. The replat has been reviewed based upon the standards of the subdivision control ordinance and also the zoning ordinance, and it is in compliance. Staff is in support of this replat. One maybe unique feature about this replat is that the access drive that I was just mentioning will, as it extends southward, it tees into the B shops lot. And there is a proposed access easement to allow traffic from that T intersection then to move eastward to go out onto the private drives within Appaloosa Crossing. So both the B shops is aware of what is going on. The owner of the B shops, which is Harris FLP, they are in agreement with this, and it will allow traffic through the development as designed. There are some minor items within the engineer's comments that apply to the replat, and again, staff would support the replat subject to resolution of those items. Moving on to the development plan for Chase Bank itself. Again, this would be a bank building of approaching 3,500 square feet with the main entry on the main pedestrian entry on the north side. There have been significant discussions just to make sure that there will be appropriate signage not to allow vehicular traffic to head north onto 146th Street or County Road 300 South, because that interchange or that point of access is going to be a right in only off of 300 South, not a right in, right out, only a right in. We just wanted to make sure that no traffic heads north on that, hoping then to turn right or eastbound on 146th Street. The building itself, as Mr. Sawyer stated, is also requesting a waiver of the architectural design standards. This waiver request is consistent with all other buildings that have been presented for development plan approval up at Appaloosa Crossing. This takes away from the requirement to meet the Zionsville theme, but does put it in consistent design with the other buildings that have been approved for Appaloosa Crossing. Staff is in support of that waiver request. Mr. Sawyer also commented about the landscape plan, and I would reiterate what he has said. What has been presented is a landscape plan that, by our engineers' phrasing, it is significantly overplanted to the point where if we would allow typical growth to occur over the next 4, 5, or 6 years, there are going to be some plants that just flat out either would not survive or would have to be removed. It's just too much. The engineer went through and did a thorough calculation as to their different aspects of planting, of required plantings. And for example, in category 1, the proposal is significantly over. Category 2, they are just a little bit under. And so we're proposing that they, first of all, reduce the number of category 1 down to an acceptable point, and then take some of those plantings into category 2 to bring the entire landscape plan into compliance with the ordinance. They did receive a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals for a removal of a 6-foot landscape strip along Michigan Road. And part of that approval was to reallocate the plantings that would have been in that strip to other portions of the site. What staff is proposing and what the petitioner has agreed to is not a reduction of any of those reallocated plantings. It is not a reduction of those. But there are other plantings that can be removed and still keep the project in compliance with the ordinance and in compliance with the BZA's grant. With that, staff is in support of the development plan that's being proposed, subject to still addressing the remaining items within the comment letters. We'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. At this point in time, does anybody on the Plan Commission have any questions, comments?
Yeah, I do. The right in only, it is 2 drive lanes wide. It seems to me that if we didn't want cars to go back out there, regardless of signage, because you know signage isn't going to stop anybody, we would pinch that in right-hand turn down to 1 lane wide. That way somebody doesn't think they can sneak their way out because they've got to worry about cars coming in. Was that ever contemplated?
Was not discussed. I see your point. I would, if the Plan Commission would choose to go that way, I think it would need to be made very clear that pinching down to one car width only be from the northern entry of the bank parking area northward to County Road 300 South.
Yes,
Because the area south of that does need to be 2 cars.
correct,
wide.
correct. And that's my concern, is because that area is bi-directional. Those cars are going to go past that turn in, get up to the corner and be like, oh, really wasn't meant for me to turn right here, but hell, I'm here anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and turn, and they're going to make that right-hand turn. They're just going to do it. And so if it's only 1 lane wide, they're probably not going to do it. So
Staff appreciates your comment and would not oppose that. I'll let you discuss with the petitioners.
Yes, Mr. Lake, from the Chase Bank side of things, again, we care about the north-south yard north entrance having the dual. From my personal civil engineering standpoint, the single lane coming in is fine for me, but I guess I would need to work with Strongbox and the overall owner, because that, as you can see on the site plan, is slightly grayed out. So it's kind of a break in the scope of where our work is right now, is that entrance is,
it's off your property.
to this point, has been dictated to me. I am more than willing to work with Greg Snelling and Strongbox to suggest that we go down to a single lane. But it is currently kind of outside of my purview or my design.
So let me phrase it this way. It's not a requirement for me to vote yes, but it's going to cost them less money and it's going to cause everybody less heartache. So if you could take that to them and have that discussion, we would appreciate it, or I would appreciate it.
Yes, I could work with Greg and Lindsay over it.
If I could interject one thing, as I'm looking at the fire turn movement
Yeah.
drawing,
Does it need it?
that is dependent upon that area being 2 car widths wide.
Okay.
Thank you, Roger. I forget. That is my mistake for forgetting about that.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
So the original road then on the east side of the original lot, the Knobstipper, or whatever the name of that street, will that street remain?
There will be no curb cut. There will be no curb cut extending up to 146th Street or County Road 300 South. There will not be a turn in at that point.
So that'll be just accessible to those 2 lots.
Correct.
And then just for the So I was looking at the overall site plan, the first access to 421 south of where Chase Bank, will that have a light? Will that be signaled?
The main entry into Appaloosa Crossing,
No, I'm just,
which would be at the south end of the B shops.
okay, so that one will be signaled, but
And that is the first one south of the bank. That would be the first point of entry into Appaloosa Crossing off of Michigan Road.
okay,
And I believe the intent from the developer is once a traffic light is warranted there, they will be pursuing that.
Is that the gas station?
No,
Nope,
the gas
that's further
station is
south.
further south.
All right.
so will both of those be signaled or just this one that we're calling the main entrance?
I'm afraid to speak off the top of my head. I do not recall clearly.
I feel like the other two are too close together to both be signalized.
That is what I'm thinking, but I'm not sure.
Anything else? If not, well, it would take three motions on this. It would be the replat, the waiver, and then the development plan.
Sure, I'll take a stab at it. I move the docket number 2022-32-RP, a replat petition for the replatting of Outlot A and Appaloosa Crossing to divide the 2.14 acre lot into two outlots being in the rural general business GB district and within the Michigan Road overlay, be approved based on the findings established at the public hearing, subject to the resolution of items noted within the engineering comment letter, Exhibit 6.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roger, would you please take roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Franz,
Aye.
Ms. Grabanowski,
Aye.
Mr. Lake,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Hurst,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
All right, the replat is approved.
So I move that the waiver of architectural building design requirements for docket number 2022-33-DP be approved based on findings in the staff report Exhibit 7 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roger, please take roll.
Ms. Grabanowski,
Aye.
Mr. Lake,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Hurst,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Franz,
Aye, that motion also carries 6-0.
All right, finally, I move that docket number 2022-33-DP to allow for a development plan approval of a 3,419 square foot bank building with associated parking and landscaping being in the rural general business GB district and within the Michigan Road overlay be approved based on the findings in the staff report and the staff recommendations, which include a conditional approval subject to a revised landscape plan being submitted for staff review, submitted findings of fact, and subject to resolution of outstanding review items identified by the town's engineers and ZFD comment letter in Exhibit 6 of the staff report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roger, please take roll.
Mr. Lake,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Hurst,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Franz,
Aye.
Ms. Grabanowski,
Aye.
Motion also carries 6-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you, members.
Next two items on the docket, we'll read them together. 2022-34 PP, Hankey Development Promontory Primary Plat, Section 1, and 2022-35 DP Staff Hankey Development Promontory Development Plan, Section 1, 9825 Windy Hills Drive, Zionsville. Petition for approval of a primary plat for Promontory Section 1 consisting of 53 single-family residential lots on 245.4 plus or minus acres in the planned unit development Promontory POD district. One subdivision waiver requested and a petition for development plan approval of Promontory Section 1 consisting of 53 single-family lots on 245.4 plus minus acres being in the planned unit development Promontory PUD district. One waiver are requested. Is the petitioner present? I believe they're online.
Yes, Phil Sunling here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, how did you make notice on this one? Registered or first class? All
First class.
right, we need a waiver to approve first class mailings as a proper notice.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All right, please proceed.
Good evening, members of the Plan Commission. My name is Phil Sunling, and I'm with the Hankey Development Group. As always, I appreciate your time and certainly your consideration this evening. Can you guys see my screen here?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. In front of you tonight is Promontory Section 1, which is generally located east of US 421 here, west of County Road 1000, and south of County Road 200 North. This section includes a total of 53 lots on roughly 245 acres. These lots range anywhere from 2 to 4 acres. Of these lots included is the existing large estate home here on B3, which is planned to be sold as a single family residential home, along with B1, which is the existing guest house, which will function as our meeting house, which is essentially our private amenity center for the entire development. The property generally consists of open and unfarmed field with large mature trees located alongside the existing 33-acre lake here centered on the property, from which I've been told is the largest lake in Boone County. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's what I've been told. Most of the trees exist on the site kind of centered around that lake, and most of those will remain in place. The way we've laid out the roadways and the homes will sit with a 150-foot setback kind of in the center of these lots, and the trees will kind of wrap around the lake. And again, most of those will stay. The goal there is just to keep kind of the natural feel of the property. And even though we are developing around such a large lake, our plan is to keep the lake perfectly intact, natural and unaltered. And with that, we are planning 2 new detention ponds to the west over here along 421, along with 2 new detention ponds up here in the northeast corner. These ponds, which are oversized, well beyond what is required in Zionsville, also they provide some aesthetic improvements as well. We've aligned, particularly on this northeast side, we've aligned some of these lots to have sort of long views over these bodies of water, which will be simply incredible. There's kind of a valley, the way these ponds are sitting, there's a big valley that runs through here. So they're located in the valley, so you'll have long views over the valley and over the water, which again, they'll be outstanding. Additionally, we've coordinated with Kenny Hedge and Carol Cunningham at the Boone County Surveyor's Office. We've met with them on site on 2 separate occasions, and we formulated a great drainage design that meets both Zionsville and the county's requirements. Kenny actually owns the property here and the farm ground here to the north, so he's intimately familiar with the property, and we were able to get a few private field tiles located for him and tied into our storm system at his request. In terms of the other utilities, as you all probably recall from the zoning process, everything will be on septic systems and wells. We're actively working through all the on-site soil testing as required by Boone County Health Department. We've completed testing on roughly half of the lots thus far, and the remaining half will wrap up yet this week. So far, we've had 0 issues on any of the soils, and we're very confident that the rest of them that wrap up this week will go with we'll come back with good soils as well. I've coordinated with Clayton Campbell and Abby Messenger at the health department on the requirements and met with them on site actually even last week to ensure everything is in order. Once the remaining soils tests come back and are completed, our plan is to package everything up and pass it along them for final review and concurrence. On the well systems, we have completed a number of test wells, all of which have returned great flows. Additionally, if you recall from the zoning process, we hired American Structure Point to ensure sufficiency of the aquifers for the entire development, which confirmed, and we went ahead and submitted that report to town staff as well. We had originally designed the wells to be in the front yards, but given the fact that we have 150-foot front yard setbacks, and these are very wide lots, large lots, There's plenty of room to fit those in front, but we met with George Lewis last week and he suggested we move those to the rear. So we're going to go ahead and do that as well. And that'll be included in our next construction document submittal. Regarding our plan for fire protection, we initially proposed dry hydrants that were served from the large centered lake. After meeting with the Zionsville Fire Department and working closely with Josh Frost and Ron Lips, we've decided to redesign the fire protection plan, and we're actually incorporating a private dedicated fire protection main that will be pressurized from a pump that feeds from this lake up here on this northeast corner. It's sort of the Cadillac of fire protection, rural fire protection. So we're very confident in the safety of the development. As far as the amenities at Promontory, these generally include the large 33-acre lake in the center. Also, we've got 44 acres of equestrian here on the west side. And lastly, we've got the meeting house here on the east side, which will include pool, fitness, pickleball, tennis, and even a marina to serve the entire development. Details of the equestrian area as well as the meeting house, we're kind of working through now. So we'll plan on resubmitting those in a subsequent filing once they are finalized. In terms of access, we plan to utilize the existing access along County Road 1000 East here on the east side. Our plan is to update, I've got some photos, it's probably worth showing you guys. If you guys could see these here, this is the existing sign wall on the east side along County Road 1000, very high quality. The masonry detail is of great quality. Obviously, we're going to replace the plaques here with a Promontory plaque. We're also going to power wash for some reason, they painted the brick. We're going to power wash the brick on all of the sign walls as well as the existing gatehouse. And we're going to do what's called a German smear finish. I got a photo at the end I'll show you. We're also going to remove this railing along the roof, and we're going to paint all the railings black to match the rest of the four-board horse fence. This is sort of the aesthetic we're going for. We're going to do copper gutters. We're going to do this is the German smear look. You've probably seen this before. And this is pretty close to the color of the rest of the siding here that's currently teal that we're planning for this entry. Additionally, we are planning an entry. Let me go back to this exhibit here. We are planning a new entry off of US 421 here. Steve's vision for this is to sort of build up all of this ground here and kind of carve the roads through the built up ground. It's right now it's an open field. It's pretty basic. Unlike Holiday Farms, where we were blessed with a pretty incredible entry, we didn't have to do much over there other than carve a road through. We're gonna have to get pretty creative over here. So we've hired Larry Hemp, and he's done an incredible landscape and design here for the entry. Quite a few trees we're planning to plant. You'll see we're basically matching the same style of masonry entry. We're going to do the same four-board horse fence. It'll be an incredible entry. And once you carve through that hillside, you'll enter into the residential portion of the development. We've got a pasture crossing here for horses because we're bisected with the road with the north pasture and the south pasture. So we've got a plan to handle all of that as well. As far as our construction timing, our goal is to break ground immediately. Frankly, if I was given approval tonight, I would push to get iron delivered tomorrow. We were just notified recently that this site will be the host site of Homerama for the spring of 2024, which we're obviously very happy to announce. I'm not sure if any of you had a chance to attend Homerama in 2020 at Holiday, but it was an incredible event. Really brought a lot of positive attention to not only obviously to Holiday Farms, but to Zionsville as a whole. And our goal here with this show is to make it even more special, which will undoubtedly be a difficult task to achieve, but we're confident we can execute and make Promontory a truly one-of-a-kind place. So our builders, generally the same as Holiday. We've added a few. They're extremely excited and they're pushing hard to get started to hit those show dates. These homes are anticipated to take a full 18 months. They're very large homes they're planning, even larger than what we're seeing at Holiday. And given their size and complexity, time is of the essence for them to get going. So At this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
All right, thank you. At this point, is there anybody in the public who'd like to speak on this one?
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is David Bidgood. I reside at 1585 US 421. I own the southern border, contiguous property there along the whole south side. Probably most of the connecting property to this development. And I just had some concerns. I apologize. I was not available for past meetings as we were out of state. And if this isn't the appropriate place to, I mean, I just had a couple of concerns. I've had the opportunity to talk to Phil and Mr. Hinkie, and my greatest concerns are traffic, obviously. Right now, pulling out my driveway is about where that 421 sign is. It's my driveway. So obviously I'm concerned with the landscaping and blocking. You need to be pretty courageous sometimes pulling out with the traffic coming down through there at about 70 miles an hour. And, you know, as we get more and more traffic there, I don't know if there's been any discussion about traffic lights to slow some of that down or whatever, but there's about 4 driveways right along there. And as we are excited about the development, we're not opposed to the development at all. I'm concerned obviously about water tables. Obviously, that's a lot of wells. Runoff, largest percentage of the runoff comes down through. I have a pond that's filled with quite a bit of silt now. So the construction of silt ponds and things like that are going to be very important to me, which I know they're willing to cooperate and work with. And so I just wanted to primarily bring up the traffic area, the silt, drainage. And I do believe that's been discussed in past meetings, so I apologize for bringing it again, but I'm the one that's getting most of it. So I just wanted to get that kind of on the record and say thank you for letting me voice my concerns.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on this matter? Roger, Suzanne? Roger, all right.
Thank you. Similar to the last project, we have 2 petitions filed for the same project that we're discussing at the same time. The first is petition 2022-34 PP. That would be the primary plat for section 1 of Promontory, and with a companion petition, docket number 2022-35 DP, the development plan for section 1 of Promontory. Mr. Sunling outlined the project well. There was one item that I need to add he did not touch upon, and he's aware of this, and is that there is one subdivision waiver that needs to be requested, that being a cul-de-sac that exceeds the permitted length of 800 feet in the northeastern section of the development is a cul-de-sac that has been labeled Hollingsworth Lane, and that is the cul-de-sac that exceeds the permitted 800 feet in length. So they would need a waiver from the subdivision control ordinance for that cul-de-sac. There has been a great amount of information provided for these 2 petitions, but as I've said in other meetings, I am not here in presenting these comments. I'm not only representing the planning and zoning department, I'm representing all the other departments that have reviewed this project and provided comments. And the Department of Public Works has concerns about the drainage information that has been supplied and provided for evaluation. We meaning myself and the engineers, did have a opportunity to meet with Mr. Sunling and also Chris Wiseman, his engineer for the project, and went through a number of the different drainage topics. At the conclusion of that meeting and following after Mr. Lewis discussed that meeting, the results with his superiors and others, DPW is still requesting that this project be continued for a month for additional study and additional information to be provided. In addition to DPW's request, I have to note that in the rezoning ordinance that was adopted for Promontory just recently, included within the ordinance, it states that septic fields will be identified on each of the lots at the time of primary platting. I do know that Hankey Development has contracted individuals to go out and perform this work, and they are in the process of doing that. But at the meeting that I referenced, they said that that work would not be completed until near the end of July. So we obviously do not have that yet. And so again, when I look at the language within the ordinance stating that septic field areas would be identified on each lot at the time of primary platting, to me, that says it's not ready yet. I'm not saying that it won't be, but it's not ready yet. So based upon those two primary concerns, and with the development plan being based upon the primary plat, staff is recommending continuance of both petitions till next month to allow Hankey Development to finish their study of the septic fields for each lot, and then also to continue to work with DPW to resolve any outstanding drainage concerns.
All right, thank you. At this point in time, I'll open up to members of the Plan Commission. Questions, comments?
The meeting you referenced, was that the June 11th meeting? Or sorry, July 11th meeting?
It would have been yes.
Okay, I'm looking at responses in their response letter that talk about the meeting. I want to make sure that was
Yes,
the same
yes.
meeting.
Thank you, yes.
Thanks.
Is there a reason we're only presented with roughly half, 2/3 of the lots? I guess my core concern is we're spending a lot of time on drainage review, but we only have half the information. So I don't see how staff and DPW can actually review the project because it's incomplete and what's being presented.
Are you okay if I handle the response to that one now, or do you want me to wait till the end?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So yeah, this is basically going to be broken up into 2 phases, very similar to Holiday Farms. I think we had 8 separate phases. This is all just going to be, it's a small enough site we're able to break it up into 2. So everything that you see in section 1, all of the detention or drainage provided is accommodated in section 1. There's nothing to the south that's needed. When we develop section 2 here to the south, there will be an additional drainage study and report provided, exactly the same as we've done on all of our other developments. And there will be an additional pond here to the south that captures, because there's a portion, as Mr. Bidgood noted, there's a portion of the ground that flows to the south here. So a lot of that gets captured in that pond before it's outletted. So that'll be captured in the master plan or the drainage design for that second section.
And then that drive, Windy Hill Drive, that goes to the south, that's not shown, it doesn't exit out onto, what's the road on the east boundary?
No, it'll cul-de-sac here. I don't know if you could see my mouse, but it'll cul-de-sac here. There's no connection out to County Road 1000.
So that'll be an even longer
Cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac.
And what we did at Holiday on all of our long cul-de-sacs, sort of what you see up here on this north end, we did what are called mid-block cul-de-sacs in meeting with Josh Frost and the fire marshal at the time at Holiday. We incorporated those at various points to serve as a turnaround. They basically function very similarly to an intersection.
What's our statute for how close a driveway can be to an intersection?
I believe it's 70 feet.
70 feet.
I'm looking at a lot A19 at the corner of Promontory and Windy Hills. Is that lot even buildable?
From the intersection to where the drive would come in, you're probably about 120 feet here.
I'm back to my original statement. I'd prefer to have the whole development so that staff and DPW only have to do this once. I think even when you do a larger project, there's at least a master plan established at first for the drainage, even though you take down sections at a time.
Have there been any comments from DPW about concerns of what further development might do to the current drainage plan or current drainage assets, I guess.
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah.
They have not expressed any comments specifically along that line to me. One of the comments that has been presented is that in the drainage information that's been provided for this section, section 1, is that there is drainage information provided regarding the areas, and let me orient myself to the site plan real quick. There's been discussion about drainage for essentially the northwestern corner of the section 1 development and the northeastern corner of section 1, but very little information through the heart of the development. And again,
Very little information or very little comment or concern.
very little information from what I understand from DPW. That majority of the information is focused on these two the two areas on the outside and not a lot in the middle. And so whether that will raise concerns or questions, I don't know, but from what I'm being told, there's just been very little information provided on that area.
Am I hearing you correctly? There's no comments because there's no information for them to review.
For that middle section of section 1, correct?
I can add to that if you don't mind too. I could provide a little clarity. On our detention design, the way the site is designed, all of the detention is basically caught in these newly constructed ponds. Again, our goal is to keep the existing lake kind of as natural as possible and unaltered. So with it basically being unaltered, the only thing that's going to happen is the drainage of it's going to improve because we're going to intercept water that used to flow to it and route it through these lakes. So when we put the original drainage design plan together, as Mr. Kilmer noted, there wasn't a lot of information provided on the lake simply because it wasn't necessarily part of the detention plan. After our meeting on July 11th, I think George requested more information on that. So Chris Wiseman with Cripe is going to add that. It's very little to add to it, but there will be as much information provided as staff would like. But again, it's not necessarily, even though it's a huge lake, it's more of I would call it more of a physical amenity than it is a utility on our site, which is kind of unique. I know, but that's the
So
way
none
it's
of the
designed.
gutters from any of those houses along the lake actually drain to the lake?
Very little. I don't know. Detention wise, Mr. Lake, I'm not sure that's accurate. I think things do flow to the lake, but nothing major, and none of the streets or anything like that. All of the streets and everything that draws to the street gets caught into these 4 ponds. And then on the south, when this is extended, as I noted, there's an additional pond here that's planned that gets captured for detention.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yes, that's my question. So there is a storm drainage system that's going in?
Yes, correct. We generally, if you recall from zoning, everything's open swale, so kind of open drainage concept, but there are portions of it.
All right. An open swale is not a storm drainage system. So which is it?
So yeah, the open swale system ties in at various areas. I believe it's either between A11 or A12. So everything's open swale. It hits a storm system that routes between these lots and enters into this pond here. And it does that in another location to get into this lake here. And then there's an additional set of infrastructure. I don't know exactly where it ties in. I could pull up the CDs, but they tie into these ponds as well. So everything along the roadside, not everything, but most of everything along the roadside, our design goal was to keep it open drainage, to kind of keep that equestrian, almost a Lexington look. But in places where we need to get it into ponds, we added the hard infrastructure.
I mean, I'm looking on P103, Larry, and there are underground storm lines.
Yep.
And
Yeah, so
manholes.
we also, as part of the septic design, we've incorporated an underground, or basically an SSD trunk line that ties all of the perimeter drains that are required for septics, that ties all those in, and all those get tied into storm infrastructure as well.
And everything does come off that road that goes along the north side of the big pond, big lake. And it does drain up to the northeast corner, according to P103. And it looks like it picks up on P104.
Mm.
So it's not entirely, at least, open swale.
Still going to support what Rogers asked for, which is the continuance to get this stuff resolved. My preference would still be to see the full development. I don't like seeing partial.
I just think given BZA, their portion of it requests all the well and septic locations that needs to be in here. Before we
Correct.
approve it.
Anybody else, or should I make a motion?
So I want to kind of touch on the traffic. I can't remember. There is no traffic study required on this one, or did they provide one, Roger?
We did not. We're working with NDOT on this entry here. That gets permitted through NDOT on 421. And to Mr. Bidgood's question on traffic or a potential signal there, to put a signal on an NDOT roadway, it requires a warrant. And unless there's significant crash volume or traffic, which are this with only, we're planning I think our total is about 80 lots when all said and done. With only 80 lots, it would not justify or warrant a signal. What I would offer or suggest, if there's a concern on speed, which it sounds like there may, I'd be happy to reach out to NDOT and coordinate a speed study, which I've done in the past on other projects. And if it may warrant some sort of speed reduction, which we would obviously be strongly supportive of. I don't know if they would approve it, but I'd be happy to push that forward if it makes sense for everybody.
All right, I think that'd be appreciated.
Sure.
All right, so no more discussion. I believe there's going to be a motion on this one, on both of these.
Sure. I move the docket 2022-34-PP petition for primary plat approval for the petition for the promontory section 1 for 53 single-family residential lots on 245.4 plus or minus acres in the plan unit development promontory PUD district with one subdivision waiver be continued to the August 15th, 2022 Plan Commission meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roger, would you please take roll?
Mr. Lake,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Hurst,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Franz,
Aye.
Ms. Grabanowski.
Aye.
That's continued to next month, 6-0.
Then I move that docket 2022-35DP, a development plan petition for the approval of 53 single-family residential lots on 245.4 plus or minus acres in the plan unit development promontory PUD district with one subdivision waiver request be continued to the August 15th, 2022 Plan Commission meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roger, would you please take roll?
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Hurst,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Franz,
Aye.
Ms. Grabanowski,
Aye.
Mr. Lake.
Aye.
That motion also is approved. Continue next month. We'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Anything else, Roger?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm halfway with this parking lot. They're gonna have any curbs on them, aren't they?
Roger, do you need me to come in and sign something tomorrow? Not getting an answer, okay. Check with them tomorrow.
Interesting they can get this water to move on.
Mary, thank you for offering that. Yes, the
That sign's
findings of
actually got
fact
more stuff
for the projects that were approved tonight will require your signature. So you could either come in and I could give them to you in the office, or if you would prefer, I could put them on the vestibule, on the big black box. in the
I will
vestibule.
test myself first. I think I'm negative now, but I'll test myself first and I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good evening.
Good night.